So I recently came to a somewhat sad realization. I will never get to see this the way it was intended to be viewed. Director Denis Villeneuve has stated that Dune was designed to be viewed in IMAX, but I was busy when Dune came out. I didn't get a chance to see it, and so unless I go back in time or it gets an IMAX re-release, I'm stuck with this.
Wow, look, it's so immersive.
Yeah, look, I realize while editing this that most people are going to be viewing this on their phone, so this kind of comparison is kind of useless, but, like, seriously, look at the difference. Like, look how much information you're losing on the home release. Hi, I'm Michael, and welcome to Movie Minute, a series for my shorter video essays. Now, Dune isn't the only movie that I will never get to experience in its intended format. Christopher Nolan has been using the IMAX format in his films since The Dark Knight in 2008, but up until recently, I haven't lived near an IMAX cinema, and so I've never had the opportunity to watch Christopher Nolan's films the way they were intended. While we're on the topic of IMAX, we have to address an issue. Accessibility. Not accessibility like subtitles or audio descriptions for the visually impaired. I'm talking about an audience's actual access to a film, their ability to go and view the film in its intended format. Now, I don't want to get into the question of artistic integrity and intent versus accessibility, that's beyond the scope of this video, but the point being, IMAX is expensive, and there are only 1,600 theaters globally, and even fewer support the full IMAX scale screens. And you want to guess how many there are here in Australia? Just the one. So chances are, a high percentage of audiences are never going to experience these films in the way they're intended to be viewed. However, this issue of accessibility isn't new. In a desperate attempt to get audiences back into the cinema after the rise of television in the 1950s, cinema got experimental. All of this ultimately led to wider aspect ratios becoming the standard. Filmmaker IQ has a really great video on this that I recommend if you're interested. But with these new wider formats came a problem. How do you present a widescreen format film on a small 4x3 television screen for home release? You don't. Not without some serious concessions anyway. A technique was developed called pan and scan, which is essentially a way of cropping the movie so that it would fit on the screen. But even if you presented the film in a letterbox format, screens were small. So this meant that the only way to see films as they were intended to be viewed was by physically going to the cinema, which not everybody could do. As a result, with newer HD displays like the one you're probably watching this on, a 16:9 aspect ratio was chosen as a compromise between the two extremes, which for the most part works pretty well. But now we come back to Dune with its massive IMAX 1.43 aspect ratio, which is now too tall for most modern displays. Sure, you could shrink it down so it all fits, which would be a better solution than what they gave us.
So immersive.
But Dune is a film all about scale. However, there could be a solution to all this. Sort of. What if you could simulate a virtual cinema? Enter virtual reality. VR technologies allow a user to enter into a virtual environment, usually via the use of a head-tracked stereoscopic headset, along with some other peripheral devices that allow the user to interact with a virtual space. But there's a catch. Even the best VR headsets on the market have a resolution of up to 8K per eye, and these are screens that are jammed right up against your face, meaning that any virtual cinema screen set back in 3D space is going to have a much lower resolution than that. That's a far cry from the supposed 18K resolution of IMAX 1570 film format. But these kinds of headsets are expensive, so unless you're also a hardcore VR gamer, you're probably not going to own one. If you own a VR headset at all, it's most likely going to be a mid-range headset like the Oculus Quest 2, which only has a resolution of 2K per eye. Now, I know that this is a pretty limited use case for virtual reality, but as the technology improves, this could be a potential future solution, and that's exciting to me. I would love to go back and revisit some of my favorite films in the way they're intended to be viewed. I'm also excited about what VR could mean for the future of how we make films. But that's a thought for another time. Thank you for watching this video. If you're interested in more content like this, please like and subscribe, that really helps. I also realize that I am only just scratching the surface on issues that have been debated for literal decades. I also completely neglected to discuss anything on the audio side of things, which is a whole other can of worms. But either way, that's all from me. Bye.